It's called Plymouth Bay. A simple thing, the glass I used when my whiskey sour requested a more graceful container than a sweaty mason jar. Mindlessly, I reached to the back of the top shelf for a stemless goblet. Shaped nicely in my hand, I cupped the base and returned to you over the rattling of ice clamoring to the top of the bucket. The conversation was light-hearted as such that I cannot recall what we discussed, only that I was laughing and breathing and prepared for boozy music and the beautiful norm of an evening on the porch with you. You who are always there for my truly important moments. Then I made the grievous mistake of glancing down to the empty vessel in my hand, shattering the pane of mundane I had been naively looking through. The glass said, Plymouth Bay. Never knew I could feel like this. I froze, unable to take even another step towards the gay evening ahead of me. Music in the background rushed into the forefront of my brain, and all I could possibly have hoped for became paralyzed. I opened my mouth not to speak, but gasping for air as the full weight of her loss rushed towards me like the great bursting waves that pounded the Plymouth Rock on our last great adventure. Visiting America's birthing stone amidst threats of hurricane-level winds was a true testament to our ability to suck the joyous marrow out of every trip we took. No weather would deter us. No winding dirt road made us lost. No act of physical distance could stop us from celebrating the art of sisterhood as we trekked together year after year after year. The dry Texas hill country had romanced us deeply before we traipsed over the lines into Louisiana's humid embrace. A giant pink vulture threatened to derail us, but our victory lap brought us to New England, to the day where, despite the rain and wind and cold and all the wiser people who safely halted their lives in respect to Mother Nature, we celebrated the strength of womanhood in a winery barely big enough to seat our saturated nonsense. Like I've never seen the sky before. Drinking our lunch and laughing till we cried, we embraced every giggle a group of women could find in a town boarded up in wise repose to the hurtling forecast descending around us. We didn't care. Scarves overhead, we braved the wet and visited the rock and dried ourselves over samples of every wine Mom and Pop offered, barely staving off a tipsy scene with offerings of stale crackers smeared with jams of every flavor. By the time we left, the four of us managed to buy nearly one of every wine offered, and the owner thanked us with stately glasses, lacking a stem, and etched with historic ship and the simple name of our brave day, Plymouth Bay. This was the memory that pierced my peaceful moment. Want to vanish inside your kiss. You saw me there, shock frozen, and rushed to my side as I heaved forward and released every ounce of sadness my heart could hold. Music swelling as if seizing its moment to soundtrack my loss, I clutched the most important glass I'll ever own and sobbed with wordless tears what I could not express in words. You held me shaking. Minutes passed like cold molasses, and you didn't question why I needed you. Ever, always my rock, you planted yourself into my grief and became your own gravity as my sorrow burst over me like those great ocean waves that day. My knees buckled under the gales of unspoken longing, but you were unmoved. My stomach burned from the enormity of its task as my lungs, grappling for fresh air between waves of unleashed sadness, heaved me once more. You did not flinch. I will love you till my dying day. A simple thing, the glass from Plymouth Bay, but the power evoked from humble intentions left a renting in my heart. The wound was fresh and deep and no doubt scarring, but then, in your silence, arms wrapped around me and me around my glass, you became the place where healing began. Plymouth Bay, From Grappling to Light by Heather D. Nilsson.